There were plenty of battles in World War II that Japan was involved in, but one that really struck the public's attention was the Battle of Leyte Gulf, which occurred in the Philippines. It's one of the biggest naval battles in world's history. It began on October 23, 1944, and ended 3 days later, October 26, 1944. Leyte Gulf is also notable as the first battle in which Japanese aircraft carried out the organized kamikaze attacks. The outcome was about 17,000 deaths. Japan lost about 15,000 soldiers, while the U.S. lost nearly 2,000. Each country lost many, although now all that's left is the memory and a few to tell their stories.
This is an interview with Fred Smith, a soldier from the Battle of Leyte Gulf a few weeks after the war.
Okay, so Fred, we're going to ask you a couple of questions. First off, how did you feel when you first got drafted?
Well, afraid if anything, because you were going in with all your friends, and then you didn't know if all of them were going to come back with you, or if you were even going to come back.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you think that the media made the war sound more pleasant than it actually was?
I think they did, because they didn't see what was actually going on. Like, they didn't act like there might have been like films from where the battle was taking place, but they didn't see everything. They didn't have to deal with like their friends like passing away. Maybe it was like a loved one, but they didn't have to see it. They didn't go through all of that.
Okay, very good. So, what was the hardest part?
I think the hardest part was finding out that you were being drafted and watching your friends die, and like writing letters to your family when they were so worried about you, and just thinking about how they felt about everything that was going on.
Okay. So, what was it like serving under your commander?
Well, Ernest Evans, he received the Medal of Honor. He was a very good commander, and he helped us through thick and thin. Even though most of it really wasn't that easy, we got through it. And even though some people passed away, he still pulled us through. We didn't just stop. We just kept moving. We didn't give up.
Okay. So, I think that's all we have today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This is a news report a few days after the battle.
In October 1944, the last major naval battle of the Second World War was fought between the United States of America and the Japanese Empire. In the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the Imperial Navy tried to destroy the United States Pacific Fleet and defeat an American invasion of the Philippines. The result was the greatest naval battle in history. At Leyte Gulf, 280 warships and 200,000 sailors and airmen fought a series of furious naval engagements by night and by day over a vast area of ocean. There was almost every kind of fighting known in sea warfare, from carrier strikes to full battleship actions. Leyte was also the first battle of the war in which the Japanese used the suicide tactics of the kamikaze. For Japan, Leyte Gulf was intended to be the decisive battle which would halt the American advance across the Pacific. In reality, the Japanese Navy's last great gamble would lead to its complete destruction as a fighting force. After Leyte, the United States Navy would command the Pacific Ocean, and there would be nothing the Japanese Empire could do to save itself from total defeat.
As you can see, the Battle of Leyte Gulf was a war that will never be forgotten. It was the turning point of the war and essentially was the reason for U.S. victory in World War II. People were wounded, but that didn't stop us Americans from fighting and giving up our place in this world. If it wasn't for the determination to win this battle and overcome World War II, imagine where we would be today. Those 2,000 soldiers that lost their lives were on that field for a reason, and even though they didn't survive, they still helped us work towards our goal. To conclude, the Battle of Leyte Gulf was a war that impacted people's lives, including those who were not in the war, and it made people take a second look at how we live today.